I had a strange feeling about my daughter and her husband, so I pretended to go to the hospital for a routine heart checkup. Before leaving, I hid a small camera behind the family photo on my bookshelf. While I was sitting in my truck outside the house, my neighbor Harold came running toward me. He grabbed my arm and whispered, "Watch what happens at noon. That is when they always come. That is when you will see everything." When noon arrived, I opened the camera app on my phone, and what I saw made my blood run cold. 71 years old and running a construction company in Vancouver teaches you to notice things other people miss. And that Tuesday morning when I walked into my home office, something felt wrong. The filing cabinet drawer was not completely closed. I always close it tight because the wood swells in the rain and sticks if you leave it open. But there it was, slightly ajar, just enough to catch my eye. I walked over slowly. My boots made no sound on the hardwood floor. I pulled the drawer open and looked inside. The folders were out of order. My property deeds, which I always keep at the front, organized by date, were now mixed up. The deed for the cabin in Whistler was behind the Vancouver house papers. The condo in Victoria was stuffed at the bottom. Someone had been looking through my things. I sat down in my old leather chair, the one my wife Margaret bought me 20 years ago before the cancer took her. I looked around the room. The family photos on the shelf seemed undisturbed. My father's pocket watch on the desk was in its usual spot. But the small wooden box where I keep my will and insurance papers was facing the wrong direction. I always keep the latch facing me. Now it faced the window. I opened the box. The papers were there, but they had been unfolded and refolded. The creases were different. Someone had read them. My heart started beating faster. Only 3 people had keys to this house. Me, my daughter Patricia, and my son-in-law, Derek. Patricia was 42, a real estate agent with expensive taste. Derek was 45, a financial advisor who always talked about investments and returns. They lived in a big house in West Vancouver, the kind with a pool and a 3-car garage, but I knew they were drowning in debt. I had seen the credit card statements Derek left on the kitchen counter last Thanksgiving. I did not want to believe it was them. Patricia was my only child, the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders through Stanley Park, the girl who cried in my arms when her mother died, the girl I put through university and helped buy her first car. But the evidence was there. I thought back to dinner last Sunday at their house. We were sitting in the dining room, eating salmon that Derek had grilled on his fancy barbecue. Patricia poured me another glass of wine and smiled. "Dad, have you thought about your estate plan lately?" I looked up from my plate. "What do you mean?" "Well, you are getting older. It might be time to simplify things. Maybe sell the company, sell some properties, enjoy your retirement." Derek nodded enthusiastically. "She is right, Walter. You have worked hard your whole life. You deserve to relax. Let someone else worry about the business." "I like my work," I said. "Keeps me sharp." "But at your age," Patricia continued, "things can change fast. What if something happens to you? It would be easier for everyone if things were already sorted out." Easier for everyone. Or easier for them? I changed the subject and finished my dinner. But the words stayed with me, circling in my head like vultures. Now, sitting in my office with the moved documents in front of me, the pieces started connecting. The questions about my estate, the comments about my age, the rifled papers. I got up and walked to the window. Outside, the rain was falling gently on the cedar trees in my backyard. I had built this house 35 years ago, with my own hands, back when Thompson Construction was just me and 2 workers. Now I had 40 employees, contracts across British Columbia, and properties worth millions. I was not ready to give it up. And I was definitely not ready to be pushed aside. I picked up my phone and called Harold, my neighbor of 20 years. He was a retired RCMP officer, 73 years old, still sharp as a tack. He picked up on the second ring. "Walter, how are you?" "Harold, I need to ask you something. Have you seen anyone coming to my house when I am not here?" There was a pause. "Come over. We should talk in person." I walked next door and knocked. Harold opened the door and led me to his kitchen. He poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down across from me. "I did not want to say anything," he started, "because I was not sure what I was seeing. But your daughter and her husband have been coming by a lot lately. Always when you are at work. Sometimes they bring another man with them. Tall fellow, gray suit, carries a briefcase. My stomach dropped. How often? 3, maybe 4 times in the last 2 weeks. They stay for an hour or two. I see them going in with the man and coming out looking pleased with themselves. Do you know who the man is? No. But he drives a black Mercedes with a lawyer's parking sticker on the windshield. I wrote down his plate number. He slid a piece of paper across the table. I took it. Thank you, Harold. Walter, whatever is going on, be careful. Family can hurt you worse than any stranger. I drove to the office and sat at my desk. My project manager, Elena, noticed something was wrong. You okay, boss? You look pale. I am fine. Just tired. But I was not fine. I was anything but fine. That afternoon, I went to an electronics store on Granville Street and bought a small wireless camera, the size of a matchbox. The salesman showed me how to connect it to my phone, how to set it to record motion, how to save the footage to the cloud. I drove home and hid the camera behind the family photo on my bookshelf. The lens was invisible between the frame and the wall. From that angle, it could see my entire office. Then I made a phone call. Patricia, it is Dad. Hi, Dad. Everything okay? Yes. I just wanted to let you know I have a heart checkup tomorrow. The doctor wants to run some tests. I will be at the hospital most of the day. Oh no. Is everything all right? Just routine. At my age, they want to check everything. I will probably be there until evening. Do you want me to come with you? No. I will be fine. You have work. Okay, Dad. Call me when you are done. I hung up and breathed deeply. The trap was set. The next morning, I left my house at 9 o'clock. I drove to the hospital, parked in the lot, and stayed there for 10 minutes. Then I drove back to my neighborhood and parked on a side street where I could see my house, but they could not see me. I waited. At 11:30, a silver BMW pulled into my driveway. Patricia got out of the driver's seat. Derek got out of the passenger side. And from the back seat came a tall man in a gray suit carrying a leather briefcase. They walked to the front door. Patricia used her key. They went inside. I opened the camera app on my phone. The image was clear. They were in my office. Patricia went straight to the filing cabinet. She pulled out the property deeds and spread them on my desk. Derek and the lawyer stood behind her, looking over her shoulder. Everything is here, Patricia said. The house, the cabin, the condo, the company shares. The lawyer opened his briefcase and took out a stack of documents. I have prepared the transfer forms. All we need is his signature. He will sign, Derek said confidently. Once we convince him he needs to go to the care home, he will sign anything. Care home. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. Are you sure he will agree? The lawyer asked. Patricia laughed, a cold laugh I had never heard from her before. He does not have to agree. We have Dr. Morrison on board. He will certify that Dad has early dementia. Once we have that diagnosis, we can get power of attorney. Then we control everything. I felt sick. My own daughter was planning to have me declared mentally incompetent, to steal my life's work, to lock me away in some facility while they spent my money. Derek picked up the deed to my cabin in Whistler. This one alone is worth $2 million. The Vancouver house is at least 4. And the company, we can sell it for 10, maybe 12. The sooner we move him out, the sooner we can start, Patricia said. I watched them for another 20 minutes. They reviewed documents. They discussed timelines. They talked about me like I was already dead. When they finally left, I stayed in my truck, shaking. Not from cold, from rage. That night, I sat in the dark in my living room. I did not turn on the lights. I did not eat dinner. I just sat there, thinking about what I had seen, about what my daughter had become. At what point did I lose her? Was it when her mother died, and I buried myself in work to escape the grief? Was it when I gave her everything she wanted and never taught her the value of earning? Was it when I missed her school plays because I was bidding on contracts? Was it when I paid for her wedding to a man I never fully trusted? The questions burned, but the answers did not matter. What mattered was the present, and in the present, Patricia had chosen her path. The next morning, I called Martin Chen, My lawyer for the past 25 years. He had handled all my contracts, all my property deals, all my legal matters. If anyone could help me, it was him. Walter, what is wrong? You sound terrible. Martin, I need to see you today. It is urgent. Come to my office at 10. I arrived at his office in downtown Vancouver at exactly 10. Martin was waiting for me with a pot of tea and a concerned expression. Tell me everything. I showed him the video from my phone. He watched it twice, his face growing darker with each viewing. This is fraud, he said quietly. Conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and if they are planning to falsify a dementia diagnosis, that is criminal. What can I do? First, we protect your assets. Today, we are going to transfer everything into a trust. The house, the cabin, the condo, the company shares. You will still control everything, but legally, the assets will be in the trust. That means even if Patricia gets power of attorney over you personally, she cannot touch the trust assets. Can we do that quickly? By end of day, I will call in favors. What about them? What happens to them? Martin leaned back in his chair. That depends on what you want. If you want to press charges, we can take this to the police. They have enough evidence to arrest them. Arrest my daughter? Walter, what she is doing is criminal. She is not your daughter right now. She is someone trying to steal from you. The words cut deep, but they were true. There is another option, Martin continued. We wait. We let them make their move. We let them present their fake documents. And then we catch them in the act, with irrefutable proof. Why wait? Because right now, they can claim they were just discussing options, just planning. But if they actually present forged documents, if they actually try to execute their plan, that is when the charges stick. That is when there is no defense. I thought about it. How long? Based on what they said in the video, they are moving fast. Maybe a week, maybe 2. They mentioned Dr. Morrison. Once they get that fake diagnosis, they will move to get power of attorney. That is when we intercept. And until then, you act normal. You do not confront them. You do not raise suspicions. You let them think their plan is working. I nodded slowly. I can do that. One more thing, Walter. You need to stay safe. If they are this desperate, they might try other things. Stay with a friend. Do not be alone with them. That night, I packed a bag and drove to Harold's house. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his cop instincts taking over. You can stay here as long as you need, he said. And Walter, I am proud of you. Not many men would have the courage to do what you are doing. I did not feel courageous. I felt broken. Over the next week, I kept the camera running. Patricia and Derek came back twice more. Each time, they brought the lawyer. Each time, they reviewed documents and discussed plans. I heard them mention a specific date. Next Thursday, Derek said. That is when Dr. Morrison files the assessment. Friday morning, we go to court for the power of attorney. By Friday afternoon, we control everything. I called Martin. Thursday. They are moving Thursday. Perfect. I will coordinate with the police. We will be ready. On Wednesday night, Patricia called me. Dad, I need to talk to you. Can we have lunch tomorrow? My heart pounded. Sure, sweetheart. Where? The restaurant in Gastown. The one Mom used to like. 1 o'clock. I agreed and hung up. Then I called Martin. She wants to meet tomorrow. What do I do? Go. Listen to what she says. Record the conversation. But do not sign anything. And do not agree to anything. The next day, I arrived at the restaurant at 12:50. Patricia was already there, sitting at a table by the window. She smiled when she saw me, that familiar smile from her childhood, but now I saw what was behind it. I sat down across from her. I had my phone in my jacket pocket, recording. Hi, Dad. Thanks for coming. Of course. Is everything okay? She reached across the table and took my hand. Dad, I have been worried about you. You seem tired lately. Forgetful. Derek and I think it might be time for you to slow down. I kept my face neutral. Slow down how? Well, maybe sell the company. Move somewhere quieter. There are wonderful retirement communities in Victoria, ocean views, gardens, people your age. Retirement communities. Just to try it. just to see if you like it. And the company? Derek knows some people who might be interested in buying it. They would give you a fair price, and then you would not have to worry about anything. I looked at her. This stranger wearing my daughter's face. What about the house? The house is too big for you alone, Dad. All those stairs, all that maintenance. It makes more sense to sell it and use the money for your care. My care. Dad, I'm just trying to help you. Are you? Something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty. What do you mean? I mean, are you trying to help me, or are you trying to help yourself? She pulled her hand back. I do not know what you are talking about. I think you do. We stared at each other across the table. The restaurant noise faded into background static. Dad, you are not well. You are confused. That is why we need to take steps now, before things get worse. What steps, Patricia? Signing over my properties to you? Moving me to a care home? Having a doctor declare me incompetent? Her face went pale. Who told you that? No one told me. I have eyes. I have ears. And I have a camera in my office. For a moment, she did not speak. Then, her expression changed. The loving daughter mask cracked, and I saw what was underneath. Cold calculation. Fine, she said, her voice flat. You want to do this the hard way? We can do this the hard way. By tomorrow morning, you will be declared legally incapacitated. Doctor, Morrison has already filed his report. The court hearing is at 9, and there is nothing you can do about it. You would really do this? To your own father? You have so much, and you refuse to share. You just keep working, keep hoarding, keep controlling. Well, it is our turn now, mine and Derek's. We deserve it. You deserve what you earn. You have not earned anything. She stood up from the table. We will see about that. Enjoy your last night of freedom, Dad. She walked out. I sat there alone, staring at my untouched coffee. Then I took out my phone and called Martin. It is happening. Tomorrow at 9. The court hearing. I know. I already spoke with the police. They will be there. I drove back to Harold's house and did not sleep that night. I lay in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. 47 years of building, 35 years in that house, 20 years of memories with Margaret, and now it all came down to tomorrow. At 8:30 the next morning, I arrived at the courthouse in downtown Vancouver. Martin was waiting for me at the entrance with 2 police officers. Are you ready? He asked. As ready as I will ever be. We went inside. The courtroom was on the 2nd floor. Through the small window in the door, I could see Patricia and Derek sitting at the front. The lawyer was with them, and next to them sat a man in a white coat. Dr. Morrison, I assumed. Martin squeezed my shoulder. Wait here. Let them make their move first. I watched through the window as the hearing began. Patricia's lawyer stood up and addressed the judge, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. Your Honor, we are here to petition for emergency guardianship over Walter Thompson. Mr. Thompson is 71 years old and showing signs of cognitive decline. We have a medical assessment from Dr. Morrison confirming early-stage dementia. Given his inability to manage his own affairs, we request that his daughter Patricia be appointed as his legal guardian, with full power of attorney over his assets. The judge reviewed the documents. These are serious claims. Is Mr. Thompson present? No, Your Honor. He was not informed of this hearing due to concerns about his mental state. That was my cue. Martin pushed open the courtroom doors. I walked in behind him, followed by the 2 police officers. Your Honor, Martin announced, I am Martin Chen, counsel for Walter Thompson. Mr. Thompson is very much present, very much competent, and very much aware of what is happening here. Patricia spun around in her seat. Her face went white. What are you doing here? Derek hissed. I walked to the front of the courtroom. I am exercising my right to defend myself. The judge raised an eyebrow. This is highly irregular. Mr. Thompson, are you represented by counsel? I am, Your Honor, Mr. Chen has represented me for 25 years. Martin approached the bench and handed over a folder. Your Honor, I am submitting evidence that this petition is based on fraud. The medical assessment from Dr. Morrison was falsified. Mr. Thompson has never been examined by this doctor. Furthermore, we have video evidence of the petitioners conspiring to steal Mr. Thompson's assets through forged documents and a fabricated dementia diagnosis. The judge examined the documents. Her expression hardened. We also have audio recordings of the petitioner, Patricia Thompson, admitting to this conspiracy in a conversation with her father just yesterday. Patricia stood up. This is ridiculous. He is lying. He is confused. That is exactly why he needs a guardian. The judge held up a hand. Sit down, Miss Thompson. She sat. Dr. Morrison, the judge continued, did you examine Mr. Thompson? The doctor shifted uncomfortably. I reviewed his medical records and made an assessment based on... Did you examine him in person? Not exactly, but that is perjury, doctor. And you? She turned to Patricia's lawyer. If you knowingly submitted a falsified medical report to this court, you are looking at criminal charges. The lawyer started sweating. Your Honor, I was not aware. Save it for your own trial. The judge turned to the police officers. Arrest these individuals. Fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and perjury. One of the officers stepped forward. Patricia's eyes went wide. Derek tried to move toward the door, but the other officer blocked him. Patricia Thompson, Derek Thompson, you are under arrest. You have the right to retain and instruct counsel without delay. I watched as they put handcuffs on my daughter. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Dad, please, I am sorry. I did not mean it. Please help me. I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who had been my little girl. This woman who had sat beside her mother's hospital bed and held her hand as she died. This woman who had kissed my cheek every Christmas morning and said she loved me. You made your choice, Patricia. Now you live with it. They led her out of the courtroom. Derek walked behind her, head down, silent. The lawyer followed, already on his phone calling for his own attorney. Doctor. Morrison was escorted out last, looking shell-shocked. When they were gone, the courtroom fell silent. The judge looked at me. Mr. Thompson, I am sorry you had to go through this. The petition is denied. Your assets and your autonomy remain intact. Thank you, Your Honor. I walked out of the courthouse with Martin beside me. The sun was shining for the first time in days. The rain had stopped. Vancouver spread out before me, beautiful and indifferent. How are you feeling? Martin asked. I did not answer right away. I did not know how I was feeling. Relieved, sad, empty, angry, all of it at once. I just sent my daughter to jail. She sent herself to jail, Walter. You just made sure she did not get away with it. We walked to his car. He drove me back to Harold's house. 3 months later, the trial concluded. Patricia was sentenced to 4 years for fraud and conspiracy. Derek received 5 years because he was the one who coordinated with Dr. Morrison. The doctor lost his medical license and received 3 years. Patricia's lawyer was disbarred and sentenced to 2 years. Watching them led away in handcuffs, I felt no satisfaction, only a deep, hollow sadness. I moved back into my house. The filing cabinet drawer closed properly now. The documents were in order. Everything was in its place, but the silence was deafening. Harold came over every evening for dinner. Elena at the office took on more responsibilities, running the company while I worked less. I started volunteering at a local charity, helping build homes for families who needed them. It gave me something to do, something that mattered. 6 months after the sentencing, I received a letter from the prison, from Patricia. I held it in my hands for 3 days before opening it. Dad, I do not expect you to read this. I do not expect you to forgive me. But I need to write it anyway. I am sorry. Those words feel small compared to what I did, but they are true. I spent my whole life thinking you owed me something. That because you worked so much, because you missed things, because you were not always there, you owed me compensation. I convinced myself that taking from you was not really stealing. It was just collecting what was mine. I was wrong. You built everything with your own hands. You worked 80-hour weeks so I could have a good life. You paid for my education, my wedding, my house, and instead of being grateful, I resented you for not giving more. That resentment turned into something ugly. Derek fed it. He told me we deserved your money, that you were too old to appreciate it, that we would spend it better. And I believed him because I wanted to believe him. Now I am in a cell with nothing but time to think. And I think about Mom, about what she would say if she saw what I became. She would be ashamed. I am ashamed. I am not writing to ask you to get me out. I know you will not. I am not writing to ask for money or visits or forgiveness. I am writing because I want you to know that I finally understand. You taught me that actions have consequences. I never learned that lesson until now. Take care of yourself, Dad. I know you will. Patricia. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it and put it in my desk drawer. I did not write back. Maybe someday I would, but not yet. 2 years have passed since all of this happened. Thompson Construction is still running. I promoted Elena to vice president. Harold and I still have dinner together most nights. I sold the cabin in Whistler. It had too many memories of family vacations that felt like lies now. But I kept the house. The one I built with my own hands. The one where Margaret and I raised our daughter. The one where I learned the hardest lesson of my life. Sometimes at night, I sit in my office and look at the family photos on the shelf. Patricia as a baby. Patricia at her graduation. Patricia on her wedding day. And I wonder where I went wrong, what I could have done differently. If there was a moment where I could have saved her from becoming who she became. I do not have answers. Maybe there are none. But I know this. I did the right thing, the hard thing, the thing that cost me my only child. And I would do it again. Because a man who does not defend what is his is not a man. He is a victim. And I refuse to be a victim. I learned that respect is not something you inherit. It is something you earn. That family is not defined by blood. It is defined by trust and loyalty. And that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the worst.